TV 18. And you're watching CNBC TV 18.
And welcome to this special show, The Judgment Day. I'm Shireen Bhan. It's been a defining day for the Indian telecom space and a body blow for the UPA government. The Supreme Court has scrapped 122 licenses granted during A. Raja's tenure, while the Apex Court has given a temporary breather to Home Minister P. Chidambaram. Take a look.
Licenses have been declared as illegal and they stand cancelled.
This is a historic judgment. Exchequer will be able to recover the loss that was caused to the public exchequer as a result of these illegal licenses.
At last, I think the Supreme Court judgment has brought clarity to the sector, at least on some of the issues. And therefore, to that extent, we welcome the judgment of the Supreme Court.
Cancellation of 122 licenses will have its own enormous impact.
Well, you just got a glimpse of all the action. What a day it has been at the Apex Court. The Supreme Court cancelled 122 2G spectrum licenses granted in the tenure of former Telecom Minister A. Raja. The court noted that the licenses were issued, and I quote, in a totally arbitrary and unconstitutional manner. The court has directed the regulator, that's the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, or the TRAI, to make fresh recommendations on the allocation of 2G licenses. The time period is 4 months. The Apex Court has also directed the government to allocate spectrum through auctions within the next 4 months. On to the telecom companies that have borne the brunt of the Supreme Court verdict. Uninor, Loop Telecom, Sistema Sham, Etisalat DB, Estel, Videocon, Tatas and the Idea companies are operators who have lost some of their licenses or all of their licenses. The Supreme Court has imposed a fine of 5 crore rupees each on 3 of these companies, that's Uninor, Swan and Tata Tele, which offloaded their shares after getting their licenses, while Loop, Estel, Alliance and Sistema Sham face a 50 lakh rupee penalty. The government tried to put up a brave face, saying that the Supreme Court's verdict brought in much-needed clarity to the sector and that it wasn't an indictment of the Prime Minister's office or even the then Finance Minister P. Chidambaram. Telecom Minister Kapil Sibal adding that any aggrieved corporate can approach the court for relief.
The nation has gone through a period of uncertainty for the last 1.5 years almost, since October 2010. And the telecom sector has greatly suffered because of this period of uncertainty. And at last, I think the Supreme Court judgment has brought clarity to the sector, at least on some of the issues. And therefore, to that extent, we welcome the judgment of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, by its order, has also made sure that the customers are not affected. Why? Because this order will not be operative for a period of 4 months. In the meantime, the TRAI will give recommendations and we will auction the spectrum. तो जो हमारा जो उपभोक्ता है उसको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. और जहां तक एग्जिट पॉलिसी का सवाल है, वो निर्णय हम अभी 10 दिन में वो निर्णय करके आपको बताएंगे.
Exit policy coming soon, says the telecom minister there. The telecom regulator says that it is of the view there should be a unified license in the telecom space. The TRI chairman, speaking to us exclusively, said that all efforts will be made to find the real market price of spectrum in the auction. Sarma added that they will also look into the affordability factor. Here's more from the TRI chairman's exclusive interview with us.
Already made a recommendation, and which is in advanced stage of consideration by the government, which is that there should be unified license. So as far as the license is concerned, it will be a unified license, and then it could be a case of people, then whoever is the license holder, then asking for spectrum. Now these are some things that we have to fine tune over the next few days and finally come up with our recommendations. We have got to see the method of auction being such that the real market price is found. I'm not saying that it should be X price or Y price. The the design of the auction should be such that the full market price is determined. That is the first thing. And this other one is we have got to also take into consideration the affordability factor that you had mentioned, but this will be the subject matter of discussion over the next few weeks, I suppose, before we come out with our full recommendation. The moment we feel tariff gets out of control, we need to look at this entire review, this issue of forbearance. I know that in the last few weeks there has been a certain trend toward people articulating overtly that tariffs might rise, and I can assure you that the TRA is very well seized of this issue, and we would be taking necessary steps in case we feel that it is absolutely essential that we should interfere in tariffs.
Well, those were the reactions coming in from the government as well as the telecom regulator. We've got with us now a power-packed panel to shed some light on the implications of the Supreme Court verdict. Subramaniam Swamy, the petitioner in the case, Prashant Bhushan also joining us from Bangalore, Rajeev Chandrasekhar, independent member of the Rajya Sabha, senior lawyer Vijay Agarwal, and Gopal Jain, and our very own resident expert Siddharth Zarabi. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us. Prashant Bhushan, let me come to you first. You're a man who stands vindicated today.
No, it's not my vindication. I think it's the vindication of probity in the manner of dealing with natural resources and natural assets belonging to the people of this country, which are worth hundreds and thousands and sometimes even lakhs of crores. If what the Supreme Court, the importance of this judgment is that they have said that when you have scarce and valuable natural resources worth substantial sums of money, and if you are transferring them to private players, you must do them firstly for public benefit and through a transparent public auction. So this is a very important judgment which will have very significant implications for the manner in which mining licenses are being given, among other things.
You preempted my question. You preempted my question, Mr. Bhushan. I just want to continue with that because the Supreme Court order very clearly goes beyond the irregularities during A. Raja's tenure. It questions the very basis of the first come, first served policy. It says it's discriminatory. It has dangerous implications. But if you mentioned the mining bill, the MMDR actually proposes the first come, first served policy as a statutory right. The Textiles Ministry's tough subsidy policy follows the FCFS policy as well. The deep mineral exploration license is also given on the FCFS basis. What does this really mean now across these sectors?
You see, what we are witnessing, what we have been witnessing in this country is a huge transfer of public assets and public resources, particularly natural resources like minerals, oil, etc., oil, gas, etc., to private corporations at throwaway prices, much below the market prices, by following this non-auction and first come, first served or public-private partnership and these kind of methods by which you can give away these resources at much below the market prices to your favored operators, which also operates as a method for taking huge bribes, and which is what has been encouraging corruption in this country. So this judgment is a salutary judgment which hopefully will put a stop to these kind of practices and says that these public resources must be auctioned in a transparent manner so that the public exchequer realizes the maximum value from these resources, unless there is some other more important public interest which is served. For example, if you want to subsidize.
I'm going to come back to you. Yeah. I'll come back to you in just about 10 seconds. Let me go across to Subramaniam Swamy. Now, Mr. Swamy, the Supreme Court order really reads like a clear indictment of the government's policy, but the fact of the matter is that this has been the policy since 2001. So how can the same policy be infructuous for the period till 2008 and not be infructuous for the period from 2001 to 2008?
Well, prayer should have been made by somebody that these licenses should be cancelled. In this matter of Raja's giving license, there was both a petition by me and by Prashant Bhushan that the licenses should be cancelled, and therefore it was heard on that. The court cannot go and create its own prayers. Why didn't the government then come forward and say that the policy, if it is flawed, the NDA period licenses should also be cancelled? They did not do it. Today they cannot hide behind the NDA. Who's stopping the government today?
So, Mr. Swamy, do you think that there is a need now to open up the allocation of the spectrum and licenses pre-2008 as well if this whole policy is infructuous?
Well, I think it is for the government to do that. And you see, I can understand my going and prosecuting the government because the government won't file cases against itself. Who's stopping the government from filing cases against the BJP government or the erstwhile BJP government? So this should really address to them, where I have not applied my mind exactly how this India government has done this policy and not done this policy. It would require me to do a lot of homework to come to a conclusion and give it to you on your channel. But I have done it in the case of Mr. Raja, and that is the current thing. And the government is fully empowered with CBI, Enforcement Directorate, NIA, the whole works, RAW, IB. They can do it.